I would encourage you, as Denise has said, to be a part of the team. That's what I did a couple of years. We probably started about a year and a half just talking about it because we had caught wind that this was coming down the pipe, as they say. And I'm very glad because suddenly now it's upon us. And if we had not started when we did, I think many of us would have been in freak mode for most of this year. So, and there's only 7 of us right now piloting this redesign right now. I've been at TLA for about 10 years. This is actually my 10th year coming up. I was in the Langley School District for 4 or 5 years. And then I worked at the King's School, which is a private school in Langley. And then my sister, who had 2 children entering kindergarten, wanted to homeschool because she wasn't happy with the school in her catchment area. And I did not grow up knowing anybody in homeschooling. I don't know where she got that idea that she was suddenly going to homeschool. Yeah. And she announced to me that, you know, she even took me to a homeschool convention, and I'm thinking, what is this, right? So she just announces to me that I'm going to be her home support teacher, and I'm thinking, what's a home support teacher? And I've learned an awful lot in the past 10 years. DL has changed a lot. TLA, I think, we're starting our 13th year as a DL school.
We're into our 11th.
11, okay, yeah, and it's still fairly, it is still fairly new. What I'm doing right now is I'm working teaching 2 days in what's called an innovations class. We do project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, just project activities. We try and personalize as much as we can. And yet still, because of our contract with the ministry and DL, we need to make sure that we're making accounting for all those learning outcomes, which are going to change in even name. I'm just going to put this up here. You're going to get the newer, improved version of last night's talk, so it will definitely be a better night as far as I'm concerned. Some very good questions were asked last night, and I thought, so I actually had time this morning to think about it a little bit and go back. In our particular group, we've actually seen these learning standards, they're now called, change 3 times. So again, and it is all in draft still. So how many more times it will change, we don't know. We basically decided whatever the draft was as of the end of August, that was the draft we're working on. And so we have seen a few little changes, nothing serious since August, but there have been little bits change. But I wanted to share with you 2 things before we get started. I like to ask the Lord for a verse to share with whoever I'm sharing with, and this came actually in my readings yesterday. It's from a Psalm 105. Give thanks to the Lord, call upon his name. Make known his deeds among the people. Sing to him, sing praises to him. Speak of all his wonders. Glory in his holy name. Let the heart of those who seek the Lord be glad. Seek the Lord and his strength. Seek his face continually. Remember his wonders that he has done. And in this time of change, TLA is also experiencing another change that we did not know about at the beginning of September, and that was the change of a principal. Karen Gledhill, who's been with TLA for over 10 years, resigned. And we now have Gabe Linder, who has actually been with TLA probably the same length as Karen has been, is now taking on the role of principal. So from our point of view, we're going through an awful lot of change right now. And that is when we need to seek his face continually. I am right now working on my master's in curriculum and pedagogy. I am 5.5 months away from finishing. I can feel it. I just finished my research proposal, but during one of my readings a couple weeks ago, I came across this quote. The ultimate aim of education is to enable individuals to be architects of their own education. And through that process, to continually reinvent themselves. And I don't know anybody more than DL that reinvent themselves every single year. It's like Denise was saying, change. We change. Do you want to keep going? Okay. I can talk louder.
Save yourself.
Save myself? I'm only teaching tomorrow morning. It's nothing too serious. Is that okay? Okay. Anyways, let's get on with the plan. So, go back one, Jason. Thank you. So the simple vision of the ministry is to basically they want capable young people thriving in a rapidly changing world. We are experiencing a lot of change. I'm thinking of the change in what I've seen in my own life. I did not even have a computer when I went to school. And now we got social media and we got everything out. And I'm amazed that the other day in my class we were doing iPad rules and most of them knew this stuff. The only thing that was new is I taught them how to do a screenshot with the iPad. That was probably the only thing that none of them knew. But everything else, they already knew it. It's embarrassing sometimes. The strategy. I mean, the ministry has been talking about personalized learning for a long time. And so they're basically saying with this new redesign, it's dropped again, I just noticed that. They are moving personalized learning from concept to practice. Okay? So this is, it's hard to read in this slide. Personalized learning, basically they're saying that this is the traditional. Which one's better for you?
Maybe just for that slide.
We're good.
Okay, you're all right? Okay. I can't even read that.
Is it Marija?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes, it is.
Anyways, let's look at the pictures are easier to follow. Basically, they're saying traditional schooling is done this way, teacher-led, to the point where students have very little choice. And what they want to do is they want to move to something a little bit more cyclical, add a little bit more choice, add a little bit more personalized learning in there, and make it cross-curricular is what they're wanting to do. Is that okay? Can you hear me this way?
Yeah, totally.
Perfect. Thanks. It's weird. Do you want a tag team? Do you want to come? Next slide, Jason. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. So the key elements in the curriculum redesign are core competencies. These are not grade specific. They are a set of profiles in 6 areas: communication, creative thinking, critical thinking, social responsibility, personal responsibility, right? And again, they range from 5 to about 8 or 9, I think is the maximum on each of them. And again, they are not tied to any subject. So you're going to see a picture. This is the umbrella of the curriculum. The core competencies are at the top. This is where personalized learning comes in because there is no content tied to the core competencies. This is where you're going to see it. Okay? From there, you have a new set of words. We no longer have PLOs. We now have learning standards. So as part of learning standards, you will see what's called big ideas. And they range anywhere from 3 to 7, I think it is. I can't remember the number. And then from there, you have 2 sets of competencies under the learning standards. You have curricular competencies and you have content competencies. Most of your families are going to be looking at those content competencies. Some of the curricular competencies look a little bit more like teaching strategies that we're going to be, especially those of you who are in the classroom, will be looking a little bit more at. Next. This will be a night of information overload, and it's okay. You've got to do it sometime. Rip that Band-Aid off and let's just go for it.
That's right.
So basically, this is how I perceive the competencies. This is not their picture. This is my picture. So basically, look at the core competencies as the overarching picture of the curriculum, and then you've got your big ideas and your learning standards. These can be met with this, but they don't have to be. Again, this is where personalized learning, if you've got a student that wants to learn about dinosaurs, You might not find it in here, but they can do it through that. No problem. And we find that in innovations, a lot of our projects, we're meeting a lot of this through those projects. Okay. So if you go to the website, like I said, up here, is this cut off? Okay, anyway. Over here is where the core competencies are. And then you've got your 6 here. And they're listed as profiles, not actual, and they're not grade specific. The next slide has a picture of the communication profile. I'm cutting off number 8. But they are a series of I or I can statements, very similar to the U.S. Common Core. Okay? That's okay. You're allowed to. Wait, go back. So if you notice, the first one, and I can't even read that now, but I think it's with support, I can be part of a group. Okay, so some of them are fairly simple, but if you notice, as the profile goes down, they get bigger.
Are those numbers corresponding to grade levels?
No, they are not. No. And in fact, one of the things we've noticed, the way we have, our group has taken these is we've actually put them in a Google spreadsheet for tracking. And we've actually, when we get to these ones that have multiple I statements in them, we've actually broken them down. Because within one paragraph of this profile, I can see a grade 1 meeting 1 or 2 of those. I've got a really bright little girl in my class, grade 2. She's whipped through these.
So these all just have to be met by the time they leave grade 9?
Yes.
And so if they go through all this in by grade 3, they're done with elementary school?
Well, don't tell your parents that.
But technically,
Well, yes and no. There's some of these are quite sophisticated. They are.
I believe you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there are some exceptions too.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. But when you think about it, some of these are also going to be done on multiple levels too. So it's just a matter. Yeah. No, we've looked through them, and I mean, even my brightest kid, who I would be, she's borderline genius. She's in this range already. But at the same time, I know when she gets a little bit older, she's going to be meeting these at far deeper levels.
So we're not trying to get them out of elementary school early.
No.
It's not a checklist.
It's not a
No.
checklist. Yeah. Yeah. And Brenda's got a great idea of how you guys are going to do with that. So we'll keep going. So this is what, if you go to the website, here is the link to this redesign. The curriculum is here, and you've got K to 9. They have just posted, within about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, the grade 10 to 12 is there now. It's draft. Okay, and there will also be 2 new subjects. What they've done is they've taken out the health aspect of health and career and now made it PE and health.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that one makes sense. And now they have a K to 12 career exploration, which I suspect will probably have planning 10, though I have not looked at that. They haven't again put the full draft on there, so we don't know.
So they don't have to do an applied skills.
They actually have a new subject. It's called, applied design, technology, and something, and it's K to 12. So that's where you're applied, and it's different for K to 5 and then 6 to 9. So they're introducing the applied skills in there. Yeah. Some of it can be done as, I think, early 6. Depends on what it is. They're doing.
Applied design skills and technology.
Thank you. No, I needed that. It's really hard to kind of shrink the screenshot. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So here is a sample. This is the math for grade 3. As you can see, there are the big ideas. There are 5 in grade 3. All right. And then you have the learning standards below it. There are the curricular competencies on this side and the content competencies on this side. Just some things that we've noticed as a group. So the big ideas, they range from 3 to 7. Depends on the subject. Curricular competencies, this is where These numbers are big. Anywhere from 6 to 25. And on the content, anywhere from 3, which I'll show you one of them, it's language arts, interesting enough, to 18. So when people ask me, are there more or less, because we were promised less, I don't see less, but it depends on what subject I'm looking at. Some of them do look less, but some look more. For example, French, grade 5. Currently 12, and with this, the new one, there's 23, 24 between these two. Easy. What's another 12? Yes, that's right. Yeah. When you start looking at some of these, like 2 or 3 of these and one of these are almost the same, right? So, like I said, some of this is laid out like a strategy, teaching strategies for these. Okay. All right, so significant changes, and I actually had to change this slide a bit after last night because the stuff I originally written down there, I wondered whether that was from a previous draft because we were looking through the drafts going, okay, that's not right. So I had to make some changes, which is good. So the big one, I am a humanities teacher, so I'm always looking at social studies and English language arts first whenever I look at things like this. So the big one, grade 3 social studies, they have removed Canada as that's all right. There's no focus on provinces, so there's no provinces, capital cities. They do talk about the relations between communities and regions, but they don't ask you to name them. Yeah.
This is just for grade 3, right?
Just grade. Yeah, grade 3 socials. Yeah. They have taken out the geography. Yeah.
What's that?
Mapping. Yeah, they got. What was that? No, go ahead.
No, it's fine.
Okay. In grade 3, we teach them how to do simple maps, and you teach them physical. Yeah, that's all. This is not in there anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, listen. One of the things that the ministry says about all of this, because it is in draft, they welcome feedback. If you don't say anything, they're not going to do anything.
Were they going to replace it, or did they no longer feel that geography was
Well,
necessary?
again, if they're trying to decrease things, they have to remove something,
And
correct?
they chose geography.
Yeah, they've chosen geography. It's too much
Okay.
today.
phone, Google Maps.
Well,
They
interesting.
didn't decrease math a whole lot. Sorry.
That's good.
That's good.
No, that's good.
So anyway, specific geography has been removed. Now, there's been a shift between grade 4 and grade 10 socials. You will still see some similarities, but you'll see some things moving. For example, Confederation's now in grade 4 social studies. It was in grade 5 with government. Government's still in 5. Okay. The years for socials 8, 9, and 10 have now shifted a little bit more. That you're to the point where I think socials 9 is moving into the modern era. Okay.
So then they would have to readjust the whole
Yes.
provincial exam.
They sure do, and the FSA, so there'll be some changes with them too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The biggest problem we have by piloting the grade 9 in one of our classes is my humanities 10 teacher has basically announced that my kids can't go into her class next year. Because she says, I don't want them doing the exact same thing. I said, I doubt that they're going to do the exact same thing, right? But there's some grade 10 topics that have now moved into the socials 9. So you're going to see these little shifts. They've moved them down. They've also put in things such as value judgments. And they start in the younger grades too, which is, that'll be an interesting discussion. Okay. There are changes. So there's an increased content in First Nations. Again, socials 3 has got Aboriginal global focus, and then it's First Nations more local focus. Okay. Science topics, we had this discussion last night about what the life, physical, and earth and space have, they're not really talking about them that way anymore, though when I was looking through a couple of them this morning, they still seem to be there, but not in the same way. Okay? They're not breaking them up that way. Change in mathematics, I'm going to show you a slide, my big one that bugs me the most. Just one. Like I said, health is moving to PE, career exploration is on its own, and then applied design skills and technologies is coming. Okay? Yeah, so here you've got English language arts for kindergarten. As you can see, there are 3 content outcomes, competencies. But every time you see blue, you will put your cursor over that and a little sentence or paragraph will pop up. So for example, that says structure of story. And I remember initially those links weren't there and I'm like, what do they want for structure of story? Because what they've done for some of the language arts is they've banded them. So you will see these almost identical for K1 and maybe 2. But that will change in each of them, right? So in this one it says a story has a beginning, middle, end. In the grade 1 I think it says plot setting, right? And then by the time you get to some of the older grades, which is the next slide, so here's the grade 9 English language arts, again, 3. But some of these are a little bit bigger, some of them are not. Some of them are talking about literary devices, things like that. Okay? So they're trying to keep them all under one topic. Okay. Actually, many do that. So, yeah, go ahead. Let's just get this over with. Math. I was on a math committee years ago before I even went to TLA, and that was when we went from our just BCs to the Western Protocol, and I noticed a big drop in math standards then, and that right there is evidence that's dropped again.
Grade 1.
This is grade
To 20.
numbered concepts to 20, grade 1.
Grade 1.
Grade 1 math.
So can they count to 20 and then they're done?
Well, concepts, so it's everything around 20, maybe adding up to 20, subtracting from the 20.
Like
20, yes. Anyways, that's the one that I really sort of.
this is
Our math books don't even do that. All the grade 1 math books that I use are going to 100, and I'm not going to tell my parents anything different.
So we don't have to change textbooks.
That's a whole other discussion. Yeah.
It's like going from how the brain is not able to absorb the most up until the age of 6.
Let's stop right now. Okay, this is something new. It's going to require change. Next slide. So, let's consider the elephant in the room. We can look at this 2 ways. And there's different philosophies on both of them. We can look at this as biting this off 1 bite at a time. Or, in this picture here, they are actually growing elephant ear, which is a plant. Growing it, nurturing it, watering it, building upon it.
Can I say when I looked at that slide, I thought that was elephant poop, and you were talking about
I'll go for the plant. That blows up my philosophy. Anyways, we're going to stop for just a couple minutes because you've already gotten a bit of information now to talk amongst yourselves and just again, this is about perspective. How are you going to look at all these changes?
Is there any changes to provincial exams?
They'll have to change them.
I know change them to match curriculum, but there's rumors out there that there's not going to be grade 10 exams and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we don't know yet. We haven't heard anything of that yet. Yeah. There's not, as far as we know, there's no full implementation for grade 10 to 12 next year. That will be
The year
optional.
after.
Yeah, the year after. So that gives some.
And what I heard also is the grade 10 to 12 is not being phased in, it's grade 10 to 12 is the year after,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
which is
yeah.
All or nothing.
Yeah, it's
All
an all,
grade
it's
10
an
year
all, it's an
yeah,
all or
in 1
nothing.
year.
So anyways, talk a little bit about our elephants here. If you've got questions, start writing them down. Yes.
Does the size of
So that's not actually going to be a impact depending on what your school is doing. Right? In our innovations class, when we saw these new, I've been doing innovations for 4 years. So before we even knew about these things. Our pillars of our innovations class is communication, creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. We opened these up and went, score!
Yeah.
Right? With the core competencies. So for us, there is going to be different ways we have to, you've got your reporting and your assessment and things like that, but a lot of what we're already doing in our class, it's almost business as usual, not quite. Again, we have to change a few things for sure. So it really is going to depend on how you currently teach. Sorry, go back. Thank you. So basically, the emphasis from ministry and even from our admin to us is projects, and which again is what we do in innovations. But it's not just projects, right? It's
Not just making a lap book.
not exactly. And that's something we teach the kids in innovations. We start every project with what's called a driving question because we're trying to build depth to that project, not just build a fort. What is the connection of forts back in that time? And that's actually when you're reading even a little bit of the drafts of the older grades, they're talking more about making connections and what are the relationships between this and between this. So they're not going necessarily for some specifics. In fact, I see more vagueness, which in my opinion, I like vagueness because that means I can interpret it any way I want. Right? More vagueness, more interpretation. Right? So again, where it's vague, I personalize. I mean, we always start with our kids. What do you like? What do you want to do? I want to hear what they want to do first before I start giving in my feedback of what I'd like them to do. Right? So the learning standards, so the core competencies work really well with home learning, with you have PBL classes, they'll work great in there, okay? Learning standards, a little bit more specific stuff, right? So it's going to work better for your direct classes where you're teaching particular subjects. You have one day classes here as well, correct? Yeah. We started last year looking at things like Genius Hour, DIY clubs, Lego challenges. We've been, Edward Hewlett, who's one of our tech guys, has been doing Minecraft communities for 3 or 4 years at least. This is one of the things that was emphasized to me years ago when I started as a home support teacher, and it's funny how it keeps coming back up. The role of a home teacher is a bit like a dance with your parent. There are times when you are going to lead them, and there's times when you need to let them lead you. And I mean, a lot of that has to do with the developing of that relationship. I've got a lot of new families coming right out of public school right now, and they literally want me to give them absolutely everything. Right down, they want a stack of books, and I don't want to give them a stack of books. That's hard. Because they want structure and they want something very linear. They want that math book and they just want to finish that math book. That's math to them. Or they want that science book and they just want to finish reading that science book and that's science to them. And the thing with this is, I think the message is that's not learning to ministry. The word experience comes up a lot in the other documents. They want kids to experience science. They want kids to experience math. And to go through a book from cover to cover is not going to do it. It will. Some books are better at things like, for example, Saxon has those investigations. Some of those will work really well. But whether we weight things right? A little bit differently. If a family chooses to still want to use a book. Again, that's going to be your dance with the families. And one family you're going to be doing an awful lot of leading, and another family you need to let them lead you. I've learned an awful lot as a teacher from my families. And they've actually helped me kind of be a little bit more relaxed with this. Because many of them are. I don't want to stress them out. Right. Next. So, challenges ahead, resources. Resources could be a challenge, and I am sure right now that Pearson and McGraw-Hill and all those guys are already aware of these things come in, right? And they're working on it. Learning plans. How are you going to do this?
I know.
Right? What is this going to, are your learning plans going to look, these student learning plans? They're already we've got 8 drafts right now we're working through, trying to figure out which ones, to the point where I don't think we really will settle on one. Because it really depends on the family. Because the thing is that for us, the student learning plan is really for the parent. I mean, yes, it's for the ministry to look and they want to see the evidence of how they're progressing in their learning. But it really is for that parent. And if my parent won't open it up, because it is just like, boom, with all these competencies here and all this, and they're like, I don't even know what this means, that's not an effective SLP. So that's what we're struggling with right now is drafting and drafting. Assessment evaluation, your ladies over here. Remember, this is active. Who knows in 2 or 3 months whether those learning outcomes, learning standards are going to still be there. Or whether something was taken out and is suddenly put back in.
When is the final?
August 31st, 2016. I don't know. They don't tell me these things.
Yeah.
I would suspect somewhere around there too. Okay, parent response. They will pick up whatever you're feeling when you're telling them about all these things. If you give, if you're stressful, you're giving them stress. So, this is going to be a huge factor for us. And your sanity is really important. You need to take care of yourself in all of this. You and your family are still priority. Families are first. Next slide. So where do we go from here? Again, it is a change of perspective. We know this is coming, so there's no point in fighting it. We need to embrace a little bit. I love this. I found this a couple weeks back. It says, detours in life may lead to discovering places we never knew we loved. I love that. I think that's cool. Because we get so resistant about things, and then all of a sudden we start venturing over, hey, this isn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. Right? Embrace detours. Okay? Think of projects. This is some of the stuff that we've been brainstorming with our group, thinking of projects that will work with the big ideas, not necessarily the learning standards, because the learning standards will probably be there, and we're really treating those big ideas well. We've started a database of projects, but within that we have this project template that we're putting in. What core competencies does this meet? What learning standards does this meet? What big ideas does this meet? Right? And your ladies have ideas as well that I can share with you. So, and collaborating. One of the things we did years ago when, again, people were feeling overwhelmed by all these new learning outcomes that had come out is we actually got together with our grad teachers and we said to them, what are the most important things grade 9s need to be coming into your grade 10 class? And then we worked backwards. So we looked to see what those learning standards are going to be the most important for you as they come into your class or into that online class. I remember one comment from the English teacher says, grade 9 students can't write developing paragraphs. And we went, okay, there's our focus. And we looked through all the learning outcomes from 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 to see where we could build that in. And they are actually there amongst all of them, right? So utilize your specialist teachers in this. Again, collaboration, this is what this time is about, collaborate. And don't worry, it'll get done. And you know what? Scott's going to share something that's wonderful about that. They know we're not going to have it right that first time. And I think the ministry is going to extend some grace with that. We are all doing this together, so let's at least, if we're going to fail forward. Fall forward. You see that video where everyone's behind this guy waiting to catch him and he falls forward? Okay, and last thing, remember why you're a teacher. Why are we here? Most of us are here because we love teaching, we love learning, we love the kids, we love our families. And I'm sure the school is represented just because based on who I've met in the last 2 days, your families love you too. And that's a really special relationship that we have that's very unique in DL. And, you know, I don't think public school teachers, I've had kids for 10 years as a home teacher. 2 of them are my own, well, not my own, but my niece and nephew. How often do you get to do that, right? You have a very, very unique relationship that you can have with children that very few people can have outside of your own. Right? Anyways, I think that's it. I can't remember if that was the last one. Is it? Yes. All right.